Yeah, spilled a little coffee here on College Coffee Talk just to give it that little extra air of authenticity so you know that I'm not kidding around. I'm really drinking coffee here. Andy Lockwood College Prep. Every Friday at 9 o'clock, we do a free hour of college coaching where I answer your questions. Any of your burning college questions about getting into college, about paying for college, about getting off the wait list or the deferred list, about SAT or ACT prep to the extent that I can, because I'm not a tutor, or majors and careers, or anything along the lines of all things college. Maybe we'll even do a special March Madness edition. Who knows? That could be very exciting. So we're back after a week off. Had a break last week. We were down in Florida, hence the deep, dark George Hamilton-esque tan that you're admiring, no doubt. And I got a couple announcements, a couple things going on, and I received a couple of questions that I want to talk about while I wait for people to come on. If you were just joining us, say hello in the comments section. I'm going to be, I believe, filtering over to my, I lost it, but I'm back on my page here. So if you have a question, whether it is a question live now or on replay, sometimes Facebook does like the craziest stuff. Now I'm in my ads manager. I don't know why. So I have to go back to my page. Feel free to shoot it to me in the comments section and say hi, even though I can't see it right now. But it's nice that you're thinking of me. So, all right, what's going on in terms of this time of year in March? So many, but not all, financial aid awards and acceptances have started to dribble in. We've got a lot of questions about. Oh, good. My whole browser's shutting down. Cool. Good thing I use a different feed for my Facebook Live. So, questions about what do we do in terms of trying to get more money out of schools, deferred or waitlist. I got a question from a client, Christine, that I want to share with you about the waitlist and whether you have a shot at getting money if you are actually deferred. Spoiler alert, very hard. That's unfortunately that's what I told her. So let's get back to the first part. So the best thing you can do if you're trying to get more money from other schools, in my opinion, is have other offers to kind of negotiate from a position of strength. So at this time of year, most offers haven't come in. All offers haven't come in. In some cases, that's not true. So my feeling is wait. You got a couple weeks before the dust will settle, and then you should hear from everyone. All right, I'm back in here. So I see loyal listener and viewer Heidi. Heidi from high school and junior high, actually. Hello, Heidi. Bracing myself for your comments. Hello, Pat. And hello, Samantha, and thank you for your question. Okay, good. So I'll get to that question after I get through the monologue, the monologue portion of College Coffee Talk. But if you're just joining, please, any questions about college admissions, college financial aid, etc., pop them right here, whether you're live or on replay, and I will answer them in due time. So I think the best thing you can do when you're negotiating with a college is, number one, don't call it a negotiation. It's really better. You're better served calling it an appeal, just because I think college financial officers, they're not. They think of themselves as like the Supreme Court. They're high up, in an ivory tower somewhere. And they don't look at negotiating as negotiating. It's too mercenary a term. It's really more about appealing. Can you appeal your financial aid award? Now, if you're trying to get more scholarship money, it's a little bit different. To me, that's more of a negotiation. But either way, just don't use that term. So, like I said, if you have other offers, whether it's a need-based or merit-based offer, and the offer from another college is such that your net price at the other college is going to be less than the school that you're trying to get more money from, your A-list school, so to speak, that's a good offer to show them. Other things you want to point out is any circumstances they don't know about that have to do with your ability to pay for college, your resources that you have to bear in order to foot the college bill. It's new to them. So, excuse me, I'm still drinking coffee. Didn't spill that time. Hopefully you're enjoying a nice beverage this morning. Weather's really crappy here in Florida. We're showing, no, I wish I was in Florida. That was last week. It's crappy here in Long Island. It's very sleety and yucky. So hopefully wherever you're watching, it's a little bit nicer. Anyway, so I was talking to a client yesterday, and I you know, whose daughter has heard back from a bunch of schools, and we're trying to get some more money out of her A-list school. And I said, you know, is there any information, any financial hardship information that they don't know about that we want to tell the financial aid office? He said, you know, not really. I guess maybe one thing is that we're getting a little bit older in age. You know, we're not young the way a lot of college, parents with college-bound teens are. You know, we're in our 60s. Maybe that's something you could say. I said, well, that's of course worth saying, but I wouldn't put that in the category of new information, because when you fill out a financial aid application, your birth date, you know, your age is already disclosed on that. So that's not new information. But new, an example to the contrary of information that could be new might be along the lines of, okay, so we applied for financial aid this year, and we were using our tax returns from 2016 because there's a 2-year look back for the financial aid forms. But since then, in the ensuing period, it's been almost 2 years later, you know, my whole world has changed. So I had another conversation with a client yesterday morning who fits that category exactly. She's self-employed, and her business revenue 2 years ago was over $500,000, and in the past year, you know, since which is not disclosed on the financial aid forms, her revenue was like $240-something thousand. So less than half of what it was 2 years ago. That is a very meaningful new piece of information to tell a financial aid office about, you know, that look, things have changed. I'm not able to afford as much as I could have 2 years ago. Can you please take another look at my file, given this new information that wasn't on my financial aid forms, because there's no place to put that. So those are two quick examples. All right, so I see some more people coming on here. Barb has internet this morning. They have the internet in Maine? Now you tell me? That's really amazing. Heidi taunting me. Okay, bring it. So, all right. So let me talk a little bit about the waitlist question I got last night. I guess it came in. I just took a quick look at it this morning. Christine, one of our local clients, asked about her son got waitlisted at a big state school in the Midwest. Doesn't matter what the name of the school is, Michigan. But she said, you know, he got deferred, and I'm hoping that means that if he gets off the deferred list, does that mean that they may find some money for him also? And my typical cheery, peppy, upbeat response was, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but number one, schools give money to the kids that they covet, the kids that they really want to see come there. So if you are waitlisted, I had a conversation like this with another client whose child was not admitted directly to the University of Maryland, but got into the Freshman Connection program, which is, you know, sort of like a, I don't know what the right way to describe it is, but if you don't quite make the cut for entrance into the university, as long as you can get into Freshman Connection for 6 months, and if you do well enough, then you matriculate. Most people do. Then they matriculate into the main university. So in both cases, just de facto, those are examples of how schools didn't necessarily say, yeah, we're jumping up and down to roll the red carpet for you. You're either deferred, which means you're not in, but you have a shot, or you're kind of on a trial, you know, on a trial membership almost type of thing. So in both cases, it's very unlikely that you're going to get money. On top of that, they're both state schools, which are pretty notoriously stingy. Maryland and Michigan happen to be very stingy schools in general. They do give money to in-state residents with very low income. Occasionally, they give merit money for very, very special, highly desirable, you know, kids with outrageously superior academic credentials. So I could probably count on one hand the number of times I've seen kids get merit money from each school in the last 10 years or so. It's very, very unlikely. So that's just the way it is. Now, that being said, I had a kid, I guess it was 2 years ago, who was waitlisted at a small private, well, not a medium-sized private competitive college in Pennsylvania, a very elite college. And what was interesting in that situation was the school, it was I think it was Carnegie Mellon, I guess. They deferred him, and then a few weeks later they said, by the way, if we let you in, this is what your financial aid package would look like, because you qualified for need-based aid. Is this acceptable to you? If it is, let us know, and then we're going to consider your application for admission all over again. It was kind of a weird thing. It was like a likely letter thing, if you're familiar with that term, if you're an athlete. So I thought it was odd. But they ended up, setting this draft financial aid award, which we looked at. I was like, wow, that's unusual. It's pretty cool. It looks like a good award to me. So they said, yes, this would be acceptable. And then a couple weeks later, he was admitted in off the deferred list. But that's a private college. It's not a big state school. And even that's unusual. And he was going there for I believe, for like stage crew stuff. He was a very talented theater, behind the scenes guy. But he got off the deferred list, so that was pretty cool. Very unusual. Okay, so let me get to these questions. All right, so Samantha had the first question. And if you have any questions, put them right here in comments. Okay, Samantha, how important is it to have 3 years of a language? Well, I don't know. I mean, other than most colleges wanting certain minimum amounts, and I think the most is usually 3. It really depends on what else you're doing. So if you're dropping a language, but you're taking like an easy class instead, then that is not as good as if you were dropping a language and challenging yourself with some very rigorous class. So I think it depends answer. It really depends on what else you're doing with your time. But if you're done with language and you're not going to major in something related to languages and you want to free up your schedule to take some sort of advanced research class or something like that, I think that's a great idea. But check with each college, because colleges have their own requirements. I think it's very unusual for colleges to want more than 3 years of a language, though. Okay. Okay, so Samantha left. All right. Karen, do state schools give scholarships like the private schools? So the answer is there is a trend of state schools giving more merit money, mostly to out-of-state kids. The reason being financially motivated. Most state schools have had their budgets slashed over the last 10 years from their respective state governments. So what they're doing to make up that shortfall is attracting more out-of-state students who pay higher non-resident rates. So if the sticker price at a state school is $55,000, if they give someone $15,000 off from another state, they're still coming out ahead compared to what they may charge an in-state resident of like $10,000 of tuition. So that there definitely is that trend. And some schools, some out-of-state schools, are worse than others. Some are better than others. So I mentioned 2 pretty bad ones in general, Maryland and Michigan. But some state schools that I've seen that are pretty good about giving a little bit of merit money: Delaware, Vermont. I think CU Boulder makes that list sometimes. University of Wisconsin, supposedly, last year they announced it. Supposedly they're giving out more money. I haven't really seen much so far this year. And sometimes it's only like a little bit. Like Indiana gives out a little bit of money, like $6,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000. So that's what I would expect. I think more often than not, it's still private schools that are going to give more money than and make your net price lower. So I had another conversation yesterday with a client whose kid got into CU Boulder, which is $50-something thousand, and he was also admitted to University of Hartford and Ithaca. And I think in both cases, even though the sticker price, all in tuition, room and board, etc., at Ithaca and Hartford is significantly higher than Boulder. Boulder gave 0, and the other 2 schools, after the discounting, came in at like $33,000, down from around $60,000 or $65,000. So that's why I always tell people, if you're looking to pay wholesale for college, there's a few state schools that can help cut that cost, but your best bet is typically the private schools. So there we go. Who else? Pat. Okay, if you're deferred, then how long do they take to make the final decision? Yeah, that's a very good question. That's also an it depends answer. I mean, every year I hear stories about kids being deferred and they enroll in another school and they're about to go and then they get off the deferred list in like August, or sometimes they even show up at the school that they thought they were going to and then they find out they got off the wait. That's very unusual, but there's a mad scramble before May 1st to figure out what kids are coming, because that's when housing deposits are done. So most of that action happens in March and April, but it can drag on. There's no set deadline or anything. So good question, Pat. So all right, Barb, how can Faith choose the schools with her major minor that she would most likely get merit aid from? So I'll give you a general tip for everyone. So it's not just about you, Barb, and Faith, but in general, you are much more likely to get money from a school where you are in the top 25% of incoming freshmen in terms of your academic credentials. And the way you can figure that out, of course, I'm going to help you with that. But if you're doing this on your own, the way you figure that out is if you look at the total number of kids who were admitted last year and what the school reports about the median GPA and SAT or ACT score, then what you'll be able to figure out is the band that you're in, the top 25%, how you match up to last year's class. So if you're near the top of that range, in the top 25%, as a rule of thumb, you're much more likely to get merit money. Because again, the school's going to want you more because it's going to class up their U.S. News and World Report rankings, flat out. So there you go. Very good question. Very insightful. And congratulations on your internet, Barbara. Bob Cornell. All right. No relation. All right. So some schools have included a federal subsidized loan in their package. Why not all? Yeah, okay. That's an interesting thing. I will tell you what the rule is, but it's not followed all the time. So when you file a financial aid form, in your case we filed them for you, but when someone files a FAFSA, just automatically you are entitled to, without any underwriting or any other type of qualification, you're entitled to, for a freshman, $5,500 of student loans. Now, how that $5,500 varies two different ways. It's either subsidized or unsubsidized, and it's usually a combination. Subsidized means, and I got another question on this yesterday too, so you're definitely not the only one. That's why I'm applauding your question-asking skills. So subsidized means that the government pays the interest while the child is in college and for 6 months thereafter, and then you start paying back the loan. That's when it's due. You can pay it before, but the government will subsidize or pay the interest. Unsubsidized is the opposite. The government doesn't pay the interest; it accrues right away. If you are deemed to not qualify for need-based aid, in theory, you should get only the unsubsidized loan. Subsidized loans, in contrast, are for people who qualify for need-based aid. So without revealing any confidences about Bob's financial situation, because he's a billionaire. Is that it should only be one way, not the other. So it's kind of surprising that you received a subsidized loan from some schools and not the others. But in general, the reason that a person would not receive a subsidized loan is because that college would deem it to not be eligible for need-based aid, or in English, to be ineligible for need-based aid. Either way, they're loans. So, the interest rates, I think, are about the same. I think they're literally the same. They change every July. Last time I checked, they were 3.8%, but I kind of block that out because I don't like loans. So, it'll change in July in terms of the rate, but they're artificially low in both cases, subsidized and unsubsidized. So a little more of an answer than you were probably looking for, but that's my bread and butter right there, the over explaining. Okay. What else we got here? All right. Fake name Michelle Mabel. Thoughts about George Mason U? I'm a fan of it. You know, it's an interesting school. A little bit different than a lot of the other big state schools. I think it's more conservative in general than a lot of the big state schools. But depending on what you're thinking about majoring in, I think it's a good school. It's definitely great for like pre-law and those types of things. I think a lot of state schools are kind of all the same. So the conversations I have a lot are more along the lines of actually like yesterday when I mentioned that the client whose kid got into CU Boulder, which is about $50,000, and they also got into some state schools in the state of New York where they live, about half price compared to CU Boulder. And what we're talking about was what's the value of going out of state to a school like that. The immediate obvious answer was the kid is very into snowboarding, so that's nice. And I said to the mom, I was like, you told me he's probably leaning toward a career as a lawyer, so it doesn't matter so much where you go undergrad. I personally have a hard time justifying paying an extra $25,000 or whatever per year times four, $100,000 just so the kid can snowboard and get probably almost literally the exact same quality of education at an out-of-state state school compared to an in-state state school. So that's kind of, it's not really a George Mason specific question, but that's kind of how I look at things personally, and I know my approach is, my opinion is not shared by everyone by any means. In this case, when I was talking to the mom, she's like, yeah, I'm totally on the same page as you, but he feels differently, and so does his dad. They're divorced. So it's like I'm fighting an uphill battle here, but the dad is responsible for 85% of the college costs. So I said to the mom, I'm like, that's what else can we do? I mean, he's going to be the one shouldering the burden, I guess. So in a sense, it's you're playing with house money, but I always have these conversations, and it's one thing to like kind of be swept up in big state schools because of the college experience, which is such BS because there's a million different college experiences. There are people who go to the school in the city. There's people who go to the school in rural areas. People who go to college in suburban areas. There's people who work their way all through college. There's people who go to college at night. There's ROTC. There's all these different college experiences. Just because you have one thing in mind doesn't mean that's the only way to get something out of college, etc. So I find those conversations very interesting, to say the least. All right, what else we got? Barb, the struggle is real. Okay, I'm here to help you. Michelle, all costs the same. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Rhodes versus George Mason versus Alabama. Yeah, they all cost the same. A lot of times they'll all discount you down, so you're all at the same level, more or less, which is funny to me also. But they all, I don't think it's necessarily like price fixing or collusion or something. I do think they all know what everyone else charges, and they're all colleagues, and they all go to the same conferences, and sometimes I attend the conferences that they go to. So there's a lot of awareness of what everyone else does. Rhodes is, in that case, really on the opposite end of the continuum as big schools like Alabama, in terms of class size and arguably quality of education and that type of thing. It's in Memphis, I guess, compared to big college towns. I have a kid there right now, and the mom, I guess before break, like 2 weeks ago, and she's kind of a tough cookie. She's a very severe type of lady. She was going back and forth with Pearl just to file some forms with her, and she said, by the way, please tell Andy that her daughter, who is now in her third year at Rhodes, which she'd never heard of, and she didn't want, I found that for her based on what she was interested in. She just got into, she applied to a great graduate school program and got in. And the mom was saying, I think because of her achievements, she was able to, and the way she was able to learn at Rhodes, she wouldn't have been able to do that had she ended up getting into her top choice school, 3 years ago, which was an Ivy League school at the time. So she was almost, I think she actually was saying thank you. But the point is that you can get a great quality of education at schools like that that may actually turn out to be better for you in the long term or the medium, if grad school's on the horizon or something else. So that's a very, very good option, especially if it's about the same price. And I think Rhodes actually negotiates a little bit too. So you might be able to do a little bit better than whatever their initial offer was. Alrighty. How do you know, Pat, how do you know if a college has a weekend flight? Weekend flight? Is that what that says? We asked Ryder and they beat around the bush. How do we find out this stuff? I'm not sure what you're asking me. A weekend tour maybe? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Just clarify that for me. Karen, can I call the financial aid office to request subsidized loan to be increased? You can try anything. That's basically an appeal. I think what you want to appeal is, first you want the free money, not the loans. But you'll take anything, right? Even work study, maybe. I'm a big fan of work study also. So you can ask for anything you want, but as long as you're asking, I would ask for free money, 100%. All right. Pat, you're talking about if people leave on the weekend. Got it. Got it. It's like a commuter school. I don't think you can really find that out from from admissions, but you can certainly talk to upperclassmen. That's the type of question you want to ask actual students. And that is true about Ryder. Reputationally, that's kind of a commuter school. So good question. All right, Annie, my son's in the middle of it right now. Auditions almost done. Starting a financial aid package. Wow, they think I'm loaded. Sadly, they haven't a clue. Phone call time, negotiation strategies. Yeah. So my personal preference, and I will shamelessly hawk this again because I teach a class on how to appeal. I'm going to post it right here. What I talk about in this class is my process for trying to get more money out of a school, and I always start in writing because sooner or later the colleges want to see it reduced to writing. Some colleges have their own particular forms for you to complete, just boxes to check off. So I don't think a phone call really works, at least initially. I think as a follow-up, it might make sense to do that. But there's a bunch of different arguments that you can make. So I talked about a couple of them at the beginning today. But they're basically either I have other offers from other schools, or here's some new information that you don't know about that directly bear on my ability to pay for college. So if you're interested, that class, I haven't raised the price on it yet. I've been meaning to. I'm not even kidding. I just haven't gotten around to it. It's like $97, and I walk you through every argument. I have sample appeal letters and some other things in there, and I'll even, before you send it off, I'll even review it before you send it off. So it's a good deal right now. I'll probably start promoting that next week. What I'm promoting right now is for local people, for juniors, we have this ACT class starting on Sunday with our all-star tutor Marissa, who some people on this episode have already been working with privately, and she's terrific. And I think we have 5 or 6 spots taken, so that may mean 1 or 2 spots left. I'm also I'm trying to figure out how to live stream it. So if you're out of the area and you want to eavesdrop on Sunday at 11 Eastern. What I'm planning on doing is offering the first hour for free, mainly because I want to make sure the tech works and our bandwidth is okay. And then after that break, if you want to continue on, there'll be a link to sign up, and the class you'll be able to attend live as well as review the lessons stored in a secured membership site for anyone who signs up. So that's something I'm trying to work up on the fly. So I'll be making an announcement about that a little bit later. If you're on my email list or interested, if you're interested, you can just private message me, and I'll give you all that information. Anyone who's signed up for the class already, they'll get free access to the lessons to be able to review it also. So we're working on a few more bonuses and stuff like that. Okay, any other questions before I sign off here? Barb, Marissa's the ACT bomb. Yeah, live stream. Yeah, so Faith is already working with Marissa, and she already, I think, went up like 5 points or something crazy from her initial actual practice test, because we give actual old tests. So that's pretty amazing. And yeah, Barb, what we're going to do is live stream that. I'm creating a new separate page or separate closed group just for Marissa's clients, and you'll be invited to that. And that's I'm going to start off on a public, and then we're going to switch to the private. You'll have access to both. So good. Okay. All right. So okay, Bob Cornell, is there something we should do now while waiting on all offers? And let's make a deal time, Mr. Monty Hall. No, just it's weird, because there was this big push, that Aaron was, cranking out essays and applications, and we were doing all the financial stuff with you guys, and now it's just sit back and wait. But it's about to change, So we're starting to, as you said, you've heard back from some, and you're waiting on others. So yeah, it's kind of a weird lull. So go get a hobby or something. All right, Annie, if I then explain the change in income, etc., can they say, oh, well, then you can't afford it at all, and it hurts the negotiations? No, I mean, if you're saying your income's lower, I guess, I think that's the question. Not at all. It's about, they know that people borrow tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So it won't affect anything at all. Okay. All right, good. All right, so I am going to wrap up right now. I've got some work to do. The aforementioned live streaming test prep thing, I'm kind of nervous about being able to pull it off, but I have to do some work on that. And again, if you're watching this on replay, pop your questions in here. Please please share this information. Oh, one more thing. I requested this before. Can you guys, just a big favor, because we moved our office, if you could Google us and look at the reviews that we've gotten, and if you feel like you can write a nice glowing review about us, please do that on the Google site. That would be great, just because we're trying to build up our internet presence and link juice, Google juice. So that would be great. So just go to Google and search Lockwood College Consulting or College Consultants in Long Island or something like that, and you'll be able to see that. That would be very, very cool. I would appreciate it. I will see you back here next Tuesday at 12 for College Talk Tuesday, me and the little lady Pearl. And that's more of a here's what you should be doing now type of magazine format. It's about a half hour. And then again, every Friday at 9 Eastern, it's just answering your questions. It's free coaching for non-client and anyone, client alike, anyone who's interested in just getting coaching without having to pay for it. This is my commitment, is to do this every Friday until people stop showing up. So thanks again, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.